Luffy declares war against the world government. We start chapter 1074 with a brawl. Judge Vinsmoke, Caesar Clown, and Queen are all laying into each other hard. Judge stabbing Caesar with his spear, Caesar punching Queen, and Queen trapping Judge in a headlock. If this was what daily life was like for Mads, it's a miracle the research group was able to get anything done. Back on Egghead, we're down on the Fabrio phase. The remaining Cypherpole agents in the area are not doing well. One of the team yells out that Marine soldiers shouldn't stand in their way. A few members of his team have already fallen, but the one Cypherpole still standing brings up his rifle. Even against the odds, this guy is going to try and keep fighting. That's some crazy bravery. He goes for the shot, but before his bullet finds its mark, a gloopy bubble of force emerges. In a second, the Pacifista has formed a full riot shield out of this stuff. The massive cyborg swats a shot out of the air like the bullet was just a buzzing gnat. This thing isn't going down easily. It even manages to throw the explosion back at Cypherpole. Vegapunk has clearly continued enhancing the Pacifistas, even though he has a Seraphim now. The agents don't know what to make of this new ability. One of them refers to it as Bubble Shield and credits it as a new invention of Vegapunk's. This is apparently the Mark III Pacifista, as Cypherpole doesn't have any way to deal with it. The cyborg demands that the agents surrender and move out to Factory B. The Cypherpole aren't happy about that, but between surrender and die to kill a cyborg, they choose surrender. The agents know they don't have a chance against the Mark III. Still, as the world government spies move away, they're curious about something. Who gave the Pacifistas orders to go apprehend them like this? The Frontier Dome was sealed, and the Vegapunk should be up on the cloud layer. They were supposed to be all alone down here. And to answer that, we cut away to another part of the factory complex. Some of the lab assistants are yelling that their patient mustn't move or they'll open their wound. The big guy doesn't seem to listen to them, however. Even with everything else that's happened today, he's focused on the Pacifistas doing their job. Yes, Sentomaru is back at work. It'll take more than a hand through the chest to keep Vegapunk's bodyguard down. Still, he's not back to 100%. He's conscious enough to organize the Pacifistas. But it doesn't look like he's in any condition to fight. Sentomaru doesn't seem worried about that, however. He's more concerned about the Frontier Dome. With it closed, he's got no way to contact Dr. Vegapunk. He can't make sure the old man is safe. Still, Luffy made a promise to him, and that stuck with Sentomaru. Straw Hat swore that he'd get the old man off of Egghead Island. Sentomaru struggles for breath while the Denden Mushi in his hand continues to ring. The Marines don't know enough about what happened on the island and are trying to call a guy who was supposed to be a rebel. The whole situation is chaotic, so Sentomaru is going to do what he wants. And what he wants is to try and help the doctor. As such, he gives a crucial order. All 50 Mark III Pacifistas are to move out immediately. They're to secure Egghead and make sure the Thousand Sunny is able to leave the island. The gigantic cyborgs march out of the factory, making their way towards the coast. The locked up Cypherpole agents bang at the walls of Factory B, trying to get someone to let them out. Nobody's listening. The Mark IIIs are already going through the streets of Egghead. Sentomaru doesn't know exactly what's coming, but he makes the Mark III's priority clear. They're to make sure Vegapunk escapes Egghead, no matter what the cost. Giving robots that kind of order doesn't end well. What sort of cost will the Pacifistas be willing to enact? We've seen one cause massive collateral damage just this arc. Kizaru's fleet may be in for a bad time once they get close enough to Egghead. Up on the Labo phase, things have gotten complicated. The Straw Hats have been searching for Bonnie and Vegapunk and somehow have not found them. Where could they have gone? Luffy is panting for breath. He's been sprinting all over the lab trying to find his two remaining passengers. His tongue is sticking out so far, it's like he's doing an impression of Stella. Chopper points out for us that Luffy busted his Dom shoes due to all that running. Luffy begs Chopper to stop talking. He can't afford to pay for his busted shoes. He just wants to know where the old guy and Bonnie have gotten to. Vegapunk Shaka chimes in at that. He knows where Bonnie is. Calmly, the Vegapunk of Wisdom explains to Luffy what security cameras are. He can see everything that's inside the Labo phase through his monitor. Luffy's entire search was basically pointless. The captain's eyes bugging out at Shaka make it clear Bonnie is still visible on his screen. Before taking vengeance on Shaka, however, Luffy's distracted by a late entrance to the room. Stussy, Zoro, and Brook have all gotten a new set of clothes, something Brook is extremely excited about. Zoro and Stussy, however, aren't so excited. Zoro notes that they were supposed to set sail. Stussy wants to see Stella, wondering what's been going on here. The control center is starting to get chaotic. We've got the Straw Hats and Vegapunk satellites all in a room together. Shaka tells the assembly to calm down and listen, but most people aren't paying attention to him. Chopper is still having fun zooming about with his Dom shoes. Nami's giving the fallen Rob Lucci an extra kick for good measure. Punk York's finally woken up, and Sanji is already going crazy over her. Even Punk Atlas has joined the group, happy to see her family again. Luffy notices the giant child's face has been repaired, which Edison confirms. They've got the spare parts to do stuff like that in the Labo phase. Shaka doesn't acknowledge the chaos, just keeping on with his briefing. Stella is missing, but that's only the first issue they need to deal with. The other one is with the Frontier Dome. It's out of their control right now. With it activated, the Thousand Sunny can't leave unless they want to be shot out of the sky. Usopp starts to freak out at that. They have to get out of here. Shaka agrees, but points out that Stella has vanished. His focus is still firmly on protecting his progenitor. They need to locate the original Vegapunk before leaving, no matter what the cost. He'll try to find a way to repair the Frontier Dome, though he doesn't sound confident about that. Frankie brings up the obvious point. If they have security cameras covering the lab, won't searching be pointless? You know, Luffy, Jinbei, and Chopper all witnessed Stella use teleportation technology back down in the scrapyard. It's surprising none of them have even considered maybe he's teleported somewhere outside the lab. Instead, Shaka is sticking with the idea that Stella must be in the Labo Stratum somewhere. He explains that he was exaggerating a bit. Everything in the lab should be displayed on his monitors. However, they took that big attack from the Seraphim. After that, the camera creature may have moved or lost consciousness. Even when the system was fully operational, it was designed to monitor the satellites and workers sequentially. It checked on them one by one. Surveillance was never perfect, and fainting could cause additional blind spots. While Shaka's theorizing about that, Vegapunk Pythagoras checks in over remote transmission. He's just finished checking the 3rd floor of Building C. Nothing's there. Shaka acknowledges Pythagoras' report, telling him to check the next floor. The sooner they find Vegapunk, the sooner they can leave. Nami is the first to offer, hoping to find some treasure along the way. Brook is quick to offer to join as well. Stussy offers to help, and that brings Sanji onto the search team. But then, the worst possible person offers to join them, Zoro. He wants this done just like everyone else, and figures that they just have to find one old guy. It can't be hard. Sanji, however, grabs hold of the swordsman immediately. The cook isn't letting his rivalry get the better of him, however. Instead, Sanji just points out the extremely obvious. Zoro gets lost, all the time. Chopper and Robin agree that this is probably something they should keep in mind. Zoro should stay in the control room. He isn't happy about this vote of no confidence, but he doesn't argue with them. He just takes a seat on the couch next to Luffy, who is still panting for breath. Zoro pokes fun at his captain over how out of breath he still is. Luffy eventually gets it together enough to claim he always goes all out. He gave that search everything, and it wasn't that long ago he was fighting Rob Lucci. He's more than earned this break. The two are almost alone in the control room now, just with Vegapunk Shaka and the 2 shackled CP0 agents. Zoro looks at Kaku and Lucci. Even he never expected they'd run into the assassins again. Still, it got him nostalgic for Water 7. Even Luffy can get behind that, wondering if Mayor Iceberg is doing well. Even all this time later, Straw Hat doesn't forget his friends. Memories can last a long time. And to prove that, we go over to the Kuma memory chamber. Jewelry Bonnie is inside the memory now, just starting to get her bearings. She's in a field, long grass blowing hard in the wind, and she can hear loud sobbing from some guy in the distance. Wandering over to him, it's clear that this upset figure is a gigantic child, with a shaved head and bruises all over his body. This matches up with designs Oda shared for a young Kuma in a past SBS. This is what Bartholomew Kuma's life was like, perhaps the earliest clear memory he had. Vegapunk wasn't lying. This memory is Kuma's pain. Bonnie can just about recognize her father. She reaches out for him, but before she can even get close, some shadowy figures have found him. This group of brutes aren't gentle with Kuma, grabbing the big guy and trying to pull him away. The young Bartholomew tries to plead with them, asking for help. He doesn't want to do this anymore. The shadows just berate him, telling Kuma to return with them. If he doesn't, they'll all be killed. Kuma just insists he doesn't want to go back. Bonnie starts running towards a confrontation, but she's getting no closer. This is just a memory after all. Kuma insists he doesn't want to return with the shadows. The captors insist that crying won't do anything. The young Kuma says he'd rather they kill him now. He expects to die in this mysterious other place anyway. Kuma screams at them, hollering that he'll be killed no matter what. He'd rather die out here with the grass and the wind. The figures don't have an answer for young Kuma. Instead, they pull out clubs and start viciously beating him. Bonnie cries, running towards them, unable to close the distance while yelling at them to stop. Kuma cries out, begging for someone to help him. He's even apologizing to the people beating him. He just wants the pain to stop. Before more happens, Bonnie falls out of the giant memory ball. She's not doing so well, trying to get her breath back. Over on the Grand Line, PX0, Kuma's original body, is still trying to climb the red line. Father and daughter are both struggling right now, half a world away from each other. Is Kuma trying to help Bonnie just as she's trying to help him? Bonnie starts to pick herself back up. She takes a second to wipe the tears from her eyes. It will take real resolve to get through these memories. She loves her father dearly and is going to have to face all the pain he went through in his life. But her mind still lingers on those few happy memories. She won't be satisfied with just accepting this. She has to know. She reaches out a trembling hand. She's not done with the memories yet. Elsewhere in the lab, Vegapunk Pythagoras is continuing to search for Stella. He notes that this area isn't doing too well, which is surprising. This is the birthplace of the Seraphim. Even the labs that created the hyped up new super weapons aren't in the best condition right now. Interestingly, one of the doors has a nice, prominent 09 on it. A 9th Seraphim unit? Pythagoras wonders aloud where his progenitor might have gotten to. Behind him, a little clink of metal rings out from the shadows. Pythagoras turns around as his sound echoes through the quiet labs a second time. Then, the whole lab is consumed by fire, with Pythagoras screaming. He may not be damaged beyond repair, but another Vegapunk is clearly down for the moment. Whatever was lurking in the shadows is clearly far from friendly, and extremely powerful. Something is hunting the Vegapunk satellites, and it's reached the Seraphim labs. If it can command them against the Vegapunks, escaping Egghead is going to get a lot harder very soon. The divided search party is now looking like a very bad idea. The Egghead traitor is going to pick off the group one by one. Things aren't going to go well. But what's a traitor after? Why trap everyone and try to kill them all? Well, while we wonder that, we're off to the skies. Specifically, the airship/blimp headquarters of World Economy News, the premier newspaper of the One Piece world. We see a flock of news coups passing through the skies. All aboard the ship, a cawing laugh rings out. Kuwaha! Take a look at this! An amazing scoop just came in! The Den Mushi gets hung up as Big News Morgan starts brainstorming aloud. Now even he knows that the world government is trying to kill Vegapunk. It's not clear how he knows, but between the oncoming fleet and Sentomaru's Den Mushi line, Cyberpol and the Marines couldn't have made this less secret if they tried. Morgans has an immediate feel for the situation. The events here are shaping up towards something pretty close to Ohara. The world government is trying to take down a source of knowledge. However, this one won't be as easy for the world government to spin. Vegapunk is a famous scientist. He's the guy who developed a lot of power systems across the world. It's one thing to say a bunch of historians were up to shady stuff, but Vegapunk's intentions actively help people. Telling the public that he was a villain won't be enough to spin this. But he met up with Straw Hat Luffy, newly crowned Yonko, and that gives Morgans an opening. He tells his staff to listen up for the new headline. Yonko Luffy kidnapped Vegapunk, barricaded himself on Egghead, declares all-out war against the Marines. He puffs himself up, declaring that the world government will clearly thank him for this before telling his dispirited-looking employees to get to work. Morgans was a badass right after the reverie, refusing to accept world government censorship even when their agents literally pulled a gun on him. And now, if the Straw Hats manage to make it off of Egghead alive, the world will know that the Marines lost a war to them. This is a huge opportunity. Morgans has also brought some new friends along for the ride on World Economy News, and one is already complaining about this stupid headline. Nefertari Vivi is here, and she is in full princess mode, glaring imperiously at Morgans. There's no way Luffy would kidnap an old man. She's annoyed at this extended world government cover-up. In the background, one of Morgans' employees is crushing hard on the princess. She notes that she lent Vivi her new wardrobe, and our intrepid reporter is planning to never wash those again. Her and Sanji would probably get along. Well, joining her in extreme emotion is King Wapol, who is panicking hard at Vivi's attitude. He's expecting wiretap snails to be listening in on them, even if they're flying through the air, away from world government territory. As far as Wapol's concerned, as soon as the world government learns where they are, they're both in line to be assassinated. This is a surprise. We knew something had happened with Vivi and Sabo during the reverie, but Wapol was involved as well? And expects to be killed for what he saw? Was everyone watching the Gorosei meeting with Imu? Regardless, Wapol tries to insist that Vivi not talk back to Morchan, pointing out that he's hiding both of them right now. Morgans, however, is unbowed. He's a leader of the underworld after all. He's used to a little backtalk. He turns it around on Vivi, pointing out that not too long ago, she was just a little girl crying her eyes out. She came to him for sanctuary, and he granted it, but he won't stand for her meddling in his work. Morgans is insistent that he is the one who shakes the world, the one who picks what knowledge people receive. The bird mogul isn't particularly dedicated to truth or lies, to the world government, Luffy, or anything else. His one concern is entertainment. He'll print whatever provides the most fun. Words to live by. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.